Hello and welcome, everybody, as we are going to bring you some amazing action today. I am Richrad here with Necra. Necra, how are you doing today after we saw some great games just a moment ago?
I'm pumped after those first couple of games. It makes me so
Mhm.
excited moving forward into the last two matches of the EU Open Division. We've got our losers finals that you and I are going to get a chance to cover, and they're going straight to grand finals. We're going to have a winner today.
I know, and it's going to really be a lot on the line here. We did just see Here for the Sprays just be brought to the loser brackets, where Oblivion is going to try and crawl their way back out into that grand finals. And between these two teams, we've been able to see Oblivion a couple of times, actually, for me, casting it once before, I think, with you. And we have Here for the Sprays just a moment ago that we saw. So there's a lot going into this match right now for the losers bracket.
There's so much going into it. Oblivion has had a rich history throughout this specific season of EU Open Division, where we've seen them on broadcast a couple of times, and they've proved their dominance time and time again. And I don't think it's a surprise that they're here in the losers finals and going against Here for the Sprays, which from their namesake may sound that they're not as serious about this Open Division season, but they've been showing it in the way that they played this game, how serious they really are about taking that trophy home.
And, you know, we talked a little bit about it. It looked as if that it's going to be Here for the Sprays at the 3rd seed rank with Oblivion at the 5th seed rank. And actually, we're going to hop right into the match. So it will be Busan first of the 3-map control selection. And we're going to get that lovely, tiny drum space towards the center here, Necra.
We talked about this a little bit when we've seen Busan, but especially in this meta, I feel like Here for the Sprays may go for a bit more of a May composition. We've seen them before kind of use that drum, use the May to segment off members of the team, or even create an opening for a Doomfist or a Reaper to just destroy things. So I want to see that May wall come out maybe here, but I also could see them playing it a bit more safe, maybe not going for the May, which could be a bit of a risky choice, knowing that Oblivion likes to run more DPS heavy heroes like Bepis on the Doomfist.
And Phi also sticking very close with Bepis and the Doomfist. Again, this Doomfist Reaper combination is so just dominant if you can have the coordination, not only between the DPS itself, but also how your tank line is able to give you space and the mobility from your supports, such as SFX.
You definitely have supports there coming in from SFX and Slay on the side of Oblivion, but I want to point out as well the interesting and unique choices for the support duo for Here for the Sprays. We've got Pledplers on the Baptiste, as well as Watery on this Brigitte, and Brigitte is not one of those heroes that we've really seen so much outside of that triple tank, triple support GOATS composition we used to see.
Oblivion getting to the point first. Nice stun here early onto Bepis. Will go down. Dog doing a great job with that flashbang as it will now Here for the Sprays collapsing forward, getting the advancement, forcing Oblivion back. That movement from SFX is allowing them to redirect around this inner drum. Nice pull on the front to try and get it with that halt from Hades in the back. Great follow-up again by Dog. That flashbang just being so critical, allowing them to capitalize on this point, eradicate the rest of Oblivion, and now going to take it, moving in with some decent percentage.
I love how quickly Pledplers built up to that amplification matrix. It ended up being the swing factor in that last team fight, just pumping out extra bits of damage that Here for the Sprays could take advantage of. Now, other members of the team have been rewarded for that extra damage output. Dog, looking at that high noon, wants to get into a position to really surprise Oblivion as they move in on this next push with that coalescence.
As the side of Oblivion rounds the corner, moving in, as coalesces to lead. High noon in the back, quickly going to be activated to try and get some picks. Can't seem to do so by Dog. Stunned by the accretion from Renee. Great follow by Bepis with the fist in addition, just cleaning house. What a quick transition here, and stopping it at 24% for Here for the Sprays.
While I would have liked to see Dog take a bit more of a flank there, I actually think Oblivion just outplayed Here for the Sprays for this team fight. It was so difficult for Here for the Sprays to really mitigate any of the damage coming out from Slay's coalescence, and during that chaos, Phi was able to just go in and hit tons of shots here. Now, Oblivion has control of the point and ultimates.
Amp gonna come out, but surpassed by the Oblivion's positioning. Flux dealing a lot of damage on the fall, but will have that sound barrier by SFX to mitigate the incoming shots. Death Blossom by Phi, getting the double, wanting the triple, does get it. Cleaning house here, forcing them back once again on the side of Here for the Sprays. Having to reset as it's 42% now for Oblivion in a good spot.
having to reset, and I almost want to see here for the sprays maybe use a bit more of a defensive ultimate. You saw how much damage that Death Blossom did from Phi through the Brigida rally. This is something that here for the sprays should be cognizant of and make sure that they're using the Brigida to the fullest potential here with that stun in the kit so that Oblivion isn't getting massive amounts of value from their ultimates here.
Here for the spray with a flank through the doorway in the back. Halt coming out early. Supercharger trying to lead in with a Blizzard by Bijou in the back, getting some great follow-up with the rest of the team as Watery manages to get a double. Supercharger also influencing that extra damage to push forward onto Oblivion. Last remaining members trying to survive. Phi hoping to get some great value with the few members remaining. Can't seem to survive through it. And here for the sprays, utilizing those ultimates, the boosted damage from the Supercharger, allowing them to look to take it back here.
They use the Supercharger, they use the Amplification Matrix, but the fight's not over quite yet. Oblivion's reinforcements are coming back to point much as here for the sprays and reinforcements are.
SFX really drawing out this fight, going to the 99 in overtime, as you see here for sprays finally take it. But yes, the stall was critical by SFX.
It really was, because now Oblivion's in a spot where they're in last fight territory. If they're able to come back, take the point, maybe Beppis opening up with that Meteor Strike, and if SFX can get up the sound barrier fast enough, then this should be a done deal here for Oblivion.
Moving in, Renee leading with that shield. A halt coming out, though, by Hades, lifting multiple members with the Flux, countering with the Immortality Field to survive by Pled. Here for the sprays, sticking to that pillar, watching out for those halts to come in. Renee able to get some decent damage on the front. Meteor Strike to lead for Beppis. No kill, but does get the follow-up onto Bijou. A second, the third wanting to come out. That Doomfist just still getting so much shielding after the high noon is going to come there. Beppis overwhelmed to the backside just because of the support play outmaneuvered for 100 to 62. And like you said, that switched very quickly, being last fight territory.
It's going to be tough after here for the sprays lost their first couple of members when they come back and really contest this point from Oblivion. But I would like to see them maybe keep this Lucio. I don't think the Brigida was particularly the best choice given the scenario against Oblivion, but maybe going into Mecha Base, playing with the architecture a bit more. Watery's going to find so much more value with the stuns as well as that whip shot to just move Beppis away from the rest of the team.
As we have a few seconds to go, that switch, like you said, the whip shot, not going to be gaining too much value, I think, in this map selection. With the, decent opportunity. Teleporter going to come out, though, by Phi. Typical rotation we see with the Reaper to try and get some quick engage on this high ground here.
And they're going to get to high ground first. Oblivion now taking a bit of an advantage. And look at where here for the sprays is coming. They're going to be making it to point first. Oblivion still has the high ground advantage here.
Here for the sprays, making sure to keep point presence, but also having that back high catwalk so they can drop down when needed. Watery going to keep onto the brig, though, to make sure that they still have that crowd control, the stun. A nice flashbang onto Beppis in the back, trying to survive on the side of Oblivion. Can't seem to do so as Nettie gets the execution. Immortality Field solidifying the position here for the sprays, keeping that pressure in the corner, rotating around it. Numbers advantage for here the sprays, and Oblivion really having to be careful and fall back to not lose too many more.
Okay, Nettie's been really nutty in terms of their reaction time against Oblivion. You can see how well Nettie is using that experimental barrier to protect some of the off angles of the team, and that's been so effective, just making sure that Oblivion can't build up to those crucial DPS ultimates. Pledplers here for the sprays, the first one that's going to have that ultimate online, but Beppis takes him out immediately.
Aggression so high from Beppis, finding value. That cryo freeze, hoping to keep Bijou alive, rotating down to the low ground. Phi just wanting to regroup with the team. They've got the numbers advantage. Nice accretion, though, to come out and just stick a stun by Nettie. Looking to collapse from the high position. Oblivion will gain the advantage very quickly. The DPS in tandem working, forcing them off this point at 42%, and will start to climb themselves on Oblivion.
Such a good spot for Oblivion to be in. Slay having the Coalescence up means it's going to be easy to get that incredible amount of damage down these straightaways here. Phi already smells where here for this brace is coming from, and that's going to be the go signal for Slay to pop this Coalescence as soon as they move in.
Amp Matrix to make sure they can get extra damage. Hades very low. The Immortality Field has to come out. Bijou almost about to get taken out with a great amount of healing focus there. Phi with the Death Blossom coming out with it, trying to get value as the halt is going to come in, but the stun to counter it immediately with Beppis, hoping to turn it back after the Death Blossom can't yield the value. Sound Barrier dropped by SFX to keep this fight going after Netty used the Flux. Typical usage here when it comes to that Sound Barrier to keep them alive as they transition down to the point, forcing Oblivion back here for the sprays, capitalizing on this point, and looking to surpass now this 43% in climbing for Oblivion.
Using the Sound Barrier in that moment from SFX means that they don't have any response right now to Bijou's Blizzard. And we see this often when a Blizzard comes online. The team that ends up hitting it, if there isn't a Mei on the other side, is going to end up winning the team fight. So here for the sprays, looking to secure more percentage on this point now by using that Blizzard, maybe while everyone is frozen, also using that high noon.
Halt gonna pull down Oblivion. Great timing before the shield as a supercharger gives them a boost since they have to take this head on. Blizzard though on the point, getting a number of members to rotate out of the circle, worried about the freeze. Netty getting the double since they had to worry about the positioning with Pled on the back, using that amplification matrix to secure the damage, clearing it off the point, and now in final territory for Oblivion.
I like that Watery actually stuck to the Brigida here, because you're seeing how much that Brigida can do when sometimes Bepis's rollouts on the Doomfist get interrupted by the architecture of the map. It allows Watery an opening to use the stuns, use the whip shot, and really disrupt Bepis's game plan.
Shields quickly activated, not allowing the halt once again. Deadeye gaining one. Fez doing a great job on the front. Nice follow-up here onto the Immortality field for Oblivion. Fi getting so low, frozen in the back. Hades to get the execution as the rally by Watery secures a defensive position. Oblivion needing a lot of work coming out of Bepis to try and defeat that backline, but can't seem to get a good engagement with the Supercharger boosting the damage. Following up, does go down. A second kill for Hades. Dog will get a double, moving forward with the overtime, reaching its climax as it's still the numbers advantage. Final members of Renee going down with SFX, clearing them off this point, and round 2 is going to go 1-1 into map 3.
What else would you expect from the losers finals though, Rich? Did you ever expect anything else than a 3-round control point to kick things off?
I want grand finals from both teams. That's exactly what's happening right now. As we're going to go into downtown with some verticality here, so we could see some adjustments, but they have been very strong on their compositions right now, and with how even it's been from 1 point to 1 point, I wouldn't see too much variation.
I don't expect Fear for the Sprays to change up anything, if at all. There's so many pieces of this puzzle that, yeah, you first look at it, and on paper you go, I'm not sure about this. But then you look at Pledper's Baptiste, you look at Dog on the McCree for Here for the Sprays, you also look at the verticality that this particular map of Busan offers, and they're going to be able to take so much advantage of that high ground space above point, where Oblivion's going to have some trouble really getting and contesting those two specific heroes.
Oblivion playing the aggressive game once again, knowing with that Doomfist in the back, needing to get some value. Here for the sprays, receding back, watching that high ground with Pled on the high ground, just funneling damage, getting the opportunity, 1-for-1 exchange. The flashbang no longer available because the McCree is down. Keeping a high ground position by Oblivion here. SFX giving some great mobility. Dosh gonna go down though. Hades taking the advantage as we see amplification matrix coming out, and now the aggression shifts. It will be Here for the Sprays dominating on the push down to the point, preventing Oblivion from capturing this as Hades still deals significant damage. Fortify gets the double now onto SFX, followed after 5, and clears house, allowing Here for the Sprays to take this first control point on this third map.
Bepis was trying, but Here for the Sprays taking firm control of this point, and you could really see what I was talking about in terms of the positioning. Pledplers was just standing on top of the high ground closer to spawn here, like he's doing right now, and this is just a beautiful spot for him to be in. He's got a full vantage point on his team to be able to keep them healed, and nobody from Oblivion can really contest him there. It's such a wonderful spot. He's gonna have another amplification matrix soon.
Rally getting a great buffer. Halt gonna be able to maneuver a lot of Oblivion members as Renee has the Flux, looking to drop it in the front line, getting a few, just missing actually. Able to dodge out of the way. Netty not gonna get pulled as the Immortality field survives multiple attempts to try and take it down because that barrier with the Supercharger is covered at 40% now for Here for the Sprays. Oblivion really needs to try and utilize this coalescence with the Doomfist Meteor Strike coming up shortly and waiting for Dosh.
I need to see Beppis maybe go after a specific target on here for the sprays. I actually think that Flood Players is doing almost too much work on that Baptiste. So sending Beppis after them is probably Oblivion's best shot at eliminating that significant amount of healing from here for the sprays.
Renee up front quickly. Halt's going to pull them back right into the Blizzard. Great job with that combination as Dog has that Deadeye, waiting to use it, trying to hold off before this next encounter as an insurance policy with Nettie, collapsing the remaining members. They're in a good spot with this ultimate for the Deadeye, and Oblivion, it's got a tall order.
It's been tough for Dog to find value from the Deadeye, though. This has been a couple of times we've seen Dog ready and waiting with that Deadeye, and then Oblivion, Renee, the Sigma, uses the experimental barrier to completely shut it down. So Oblivion not out of the fight yet, even though here for the Sprays has had firm control of the point. Oblivion has a way around this.
Wall going to block the sightline from Dog, not going to get nearly as the opportunity for a sight, and they switch it right under the nose of here for the Sprays. Can Oblivion rise up the stairway with the supercharger damage to keep this point as Fi waits for the Death Blossom to drop down? Sound Barrier going to buy a little bit more time, and there's the Death Blossom coming out for one onto Hades, looking for the second, but can't seem to get it. Dosh rotating now to the Winston, wanting to get back to this point for presence, even though they have the rally on the side of here for the Sprays. Collapsing down, keeping the team alive. Flashbang to shut down that Fi play with Coalescence, barely keeping this alive with actually a rotation to Wrecking Ball versus the Winston. Pile drive for a great stun on this point with Slay assisting the team. Last member of Nettie sticking near the point, has to regroup, and what a stall by Oblivion.
Oblivion, I feel like they tracked Dog's High Noon really well, but then they might not have tracked that there was nothing else that here for the Sprays had in their kit. I would have liked to see SFX use that sound barrier a bit earlier, but they're still in a good position here. Beppis switching over to the Mei, almost has that Blizzard online, and again, no real way for here for the Sprays to deal with it.
5-person halt into the Flux in the back. Cryo Freeze going to come out by Beppis to make sure they can survive, but Doge can't keep alive. So much damage funneled in. The Blizzard going to be eaten by Nettie! Will go down. No opportunity with the conversion most likely occurring as once again Doge has to rotate to the Wrecking Ball to get onto this point. Numbers advantage severely in favor of here for the Sprays, collapsing onto the point. Taking down Fi and Renee is critical, and look to switch it back as there is only one last chance to even keep this into an overtime.
And look what Bijou has ready waiting for them. That Blizzard. No Sigma.
And they seem to get back in time. Wrecking Ball hoping to flee. Can't seem to. Fi on the point using the Rainform, but the Blizzard, like you said, coming out, making sure that nobody can touch this point, become completely frozen if they touch it, as the Flux in return comes out on the backside by Renee, looking to keep presence as it's 99 to 79. Watery dropping the rally, barely alive with this amount of health that they have. Bled on the front, having that amplification matrix, not yet going to drop it, as they will have enough for the side of here for Sprays to claim this first map on Busan.
Here for the Sprays is taking all of the momentum right now that they have from that last match we just watched them play. And they're showing us why they shouldn't have gotten knocked out there.
Whew. Indeed, why they should not. Just looking at both of these teams and their determination to reach that grand final is absolutely exhilarating with these two teams.
Yeah. I mean, this is what you kind of are hoping for when you're looking at the playoff bracket of an open division season. You want to see the best of the best. You want to see what players are going to be up and coming. And I feel like even though Oblivion didn't win this very first map, we haven't seen the rest of what they can accomplish yet in this series.
Oh, totally agree. When it comes to, I think, the slight adjustments, it really is. There was, I think, a point in time when it came to some of the control maps that Oblivion, their ultimate management was, I think, slightly off. Even though both teams are playing very well, just that slight bit of adjustment, similar to when you were speaking about SFX, looking to manage that sound barrier a little bit more effectively, and those types of things can really be a critical shift in a fight, which, you know, now we're leading into our next map, which is going to be a hybrid, and it will be Hollywood here. So it's not a control point any longer, so that could change up a little bit since we do have Oblivion selecting the map here first.
One thing about the Ultimate Economy before we move on to the next map in the series is that Here for the Sprays is doing such a good job of almost keeping Oblivion on their toes. When you're looking at the composition Here for the Sprays is running, you would never think in a million years that you'd have double shield and then Brig and Bap. Like, those two heroes just don't seem like they go together. But the way Here for the Sprays was playing it, plus the McCree from Dog, it has been difficult for Oblivion to find a way to adjust their own strategy to play around that. So it may look like they're getting a bit off kilter with their ultimates or maybe out of sync, but I think that this is Oblivion's way of feeling out how this composition from Here for the Sprays is working so that they can find an answer to it moving on in the series.
Building on top of that, because of those subtle differences to what players are so used to when it comes to that typical meta, it can be very uneasy for a player to go in with a team like that. We just saw recently with the collegiate Boston Uprising where we saw a Baptiste and an Ana utilizing the halt with a biotic grenade to make sure that they can get an entire team worth of purple and the explosive damage from the amplification matrix, allowing Baptiste to play more aggressive versus defensive. And those subtle changes can really throw a team off, and we're seeing it perfectly like you described with this Baptiste and the Brigitte.
I think what Baptiste and Brigitte really bring value in this composition is Baptiste, one of those heroes that has an incredibly high skill ceiling, which means that if you are technically adept with that hero, not only are you doing a great job of healing the team and maybe finding some off angles to heal the team, but you're also doing damage. And I think that's something that really just puts Here for the Sprays composition over the edge when it comes to Here for the Sprays versus Oblivion, is that it's not just the damage dealers that are doing damage. You have your supports helping out in the mix too.
And as we take a look now, it will be Here for the Sprays selecting defense first, with Oblivion on the attack for the map of Hollywood. With them, the side of Oblivion being so aggressive, having the Doomfist Reaper play on this attack, I wouldn't see anything different. The defensive side, I'm curious to see if they'll waver slightly away, but as you can see, Watery's still going to stick with that Brigitte and the Baptiste, and it's really just going to be so much coverage, allowing that crowd control from Dog to just do work.
One more thing I'll mention about just the specifics about why I feel like Baptiste is really powerful in this composition is that oftentimes when you're looking at, let's talk about what Oblivion is running. When you've got this Sigma and you're facing against a Sigma, you often save your sound barrier as an answer to the gravitic flux. In this situation, Here for the Sprays is a more reliable way to soak up that damage, where Pled players on that 20-second cooldown can use the immortality field to save the team and allow Watery and both of them to just heal up and get those ultimates up online faster. So I love that there is that reliance, maybe that reliability of that immortality field versus having to have that sound barrier online.
Oblivion swiftly shifting around the outer corner to find an opportunity to rush this back position of Here for the Sprays. Nice rotation by Here for the Sprays, though, to move out of the way. The blizzard, or the wall, coming out on the front side from both Mays as Oblivion looks for, again, this high ground position, completely shifting whose side they're on, with the accretion going to be immediately blocked, though, from the wall of Renee, dropping down a low, sticking near that mini health pack. Numbers advantage on the point for Oblivion, pushing forward, trying to get the pick, manages to get Hades out of the fight, and so much damage with now Phi from Oblivion, just giving so much space, but they have to get a stun from Here for the Sprays. Can't seem to get it. Watery getting so close to Phi, but will not get that opportunity to stop this just consistent damage from Oblivion. There's another follow-up by Dosh assisting Phi, taking this point and going to carry over a lot of time into this payload phase.
Okay, Bepis was really big brain with the Mei there. Recognize that Pled players loves to take the high ground in order to have a vantage point onto the entire team, and says, you know what? I'm going to use my Mei wall and make sure that you can't heal your team. It meant that Oblivion had so much agency within that fight, where they were dishing out the big damage with Bepis and Phi, but they were also making sure they were mitigating what really has been the trouble for them on Here for the Sprays. Now this card's rolling, and they're rewarded with the Death Blossom. They're going to have the Gravitic Flux really soon here. They just got to get through this Amplification Matrix.
Pled going to drop the Amplification Matrix very high. No real value from it, but Dog's gaining much more regardless in this choke point, dominating on the payload, switching it over. Watery using the rally to have enough defensive buffer and forcing the team of Oblivion back.
We've seen some good Mei Wolves, and we've seen some that have been a little bit questionable. I don't think that was A great time for that Mei wall to go down on the side of Oblivion. It meant that Renee wasn't ready to push forward that experimental barrier and really protect the team from that high noon. But what's really good about this is that here for the sprays, blew 3 ultimates in the last engagement. Oblivion coming in hot.
Supercharger to boost the Coalescence, but Blizzard from Biju giving so much harass. A follow-up immediately by the entire front line of Here for the Sprays to shut it down. And as you've said before, that Blizzard, so critical in a fight.
So critical. Bepis is going to have that up. Bijou able to win that last team fight there for Here for the Sprays. Now Oblivion still has a chance to come back into this, and they're starting to get on top of the ultimate economy. Here for the Sprays had to use a lot and invest so much into those last couple of fights that as long as they get past this wall, they've got this. Oblivion, you got this.
Immortality Field, like you said, utilized to try and survive through it. Another Ant Matrix, but the Blizzard from Bepis just now taking advantage. We saw Here for the Sprays get it first time around, but because Bepis had it, they got the second regardless of losing Bepis, and now going to move forward with a decent push opportunity.
Death Blossom as a part of the decent push opportunity. Coalescence, they have the sound barrier and in case things just get really hairy at the very end of this. And as we're approaching that second point, I want to see both teams use everything in their arsenal, hoping for Oblivion that it's enough to get past this defense here for the Sprays to set up.
Ant Matrix to lead. Wall gonna drop, making multiple members not able to use that amplification matrix. Fi on the high ground, though, has the Death Blossom, playing very sneaky just over the jail, looking for an opportunity to drop down and gain value. If only the rest of the team can engage it. There's the aggression, pushing forward, wanting to get a chance, but no, it will be a complete stun, not allowing Fi to get it, and returned by Dog in the Deadeye. Triple kill onto Fi, wants the quad, can't seem to get it as Nettie strips it away, cleaning the remaining members of Oblivion away from this county jail, and only going to have a SFX sound barrier for this next engage.
Oblivion was doing such a good job of making sure Dog wasn't finding value from those high noons, and now it's been twice in a row where we've seen Dog hit a double kill with the high noon. This has been really great for Here with the Sprays. They're showing us how this McCree can really work, not only on low ground, but also on the high ground. I'm interested about the positioning that Watery is taking at the moment, but hopefully they don't get cut out here.
The halt almost allowing it to happen, and they force the Immortality Field. It is no longer available on the high ground from Here for the Sprays. Fi gonna have to bail just slightly. The engage needs to come soon so they don't have that Immortality Field. Blizzard trying to counter it, though, on this Saloon, dealing so much damage. They took advantage of the fact they didn't have the Immortality Field, dropping the Blizzard because Pled couldn't support it, and now another team kill comes through.
That was really almost a bad scenario there for Here for the Sprays had Water gotten caught out, but they didn't. Blood players able to put up that Immortality Field, and now Here for the Sprays looking at their win condition and how they can stop this cart. They got another high noon here. Look at Dog taking the elevator. He wants to get a surprise attack on them.
Supercharger to boost. Can they surprise attack work? Flux pulling multiple members up as the high noon again looks to just get an opportunity. Can't seem to, only yielding one. That Coalescence boosted is just going to do so much damage for Oblivion, and it demonstrated exactly how much.
Yeah, that's clinical play there coming out from Oblivion. Real textbook for how this composition should work. Popping the Supercharger as well as the Coalescence. And they just threw the sound barrier on top just to ensure they were going to confirm the second point. Here for the Sprays is going to be able to meet them really early here, but they don't have the Supercharger online yet. Oblivion ready to go with that Blizzard to dish out some of the medicine that Here for the Sprays did just moments before.
Renee utilizing that shield effectively to mitigate damage, pushing through this choke point. Halt gonna come out though by Doshi into the Flux. Nice job getting multiple members once again. A great early pick onto Dog. No flashbang available. Renee getting the second as the drops. Immortality Field won't be as valuable here. It's just because the damage came out so high in the air, clearing this once again.
Yeah. Yeah, you even didn't need the Blizzard. So Bepis holding on to that now, but this puts them in a little bit of a weird position. Fi's also going to have the Death Blossom, so it's really all eyes are on Doge. How is this Orisa for Oblivion going to use it Orisa pull? Are they going to use it early here to try to help out Fi, or are they going to wait to use it for this Blizzard?
Supercharger needs to be handled. Coalescence to get rid of it as the Blizzard comes out by Bepis, wanting to secure the last piece of this payload push. Nice job hyper-focusing Nettie, but the support support, healing so much. Pled uncontested on the high ground. Fi going to solidify position on this point, though, making sure that there is no hope remaining, with Fi taking down Dog before the Deadeye reacts, and that's just going to be enough if they can clear that point, managing to do so. Accretion for a stun, just in case, as round 1 completes.
This is excellent for Oblivion. Finishing all 3 points of Hollywood with any time in the time bank is impressive. Now it's time for Oblivion to dish it back here for the sprays, though. We're going to be switching sides, and when I'm looking at Oblivion on the defense, I want to see them take a bit more advantage of the architecture of the map. We're seeing them almost play a bit too ground-focused of a game, and I think that's giving a lot of agency for here for the sprays, particularly in that support line.
And it's just whether or not they feel confident. There was a couple times too where that high ground positioning, especially like we talked about, where Watery was up top looking to try and just make sure to find an opportunity to drop down and get a stun, or watch that flank from Fi, but seeing it just too late that the entire team is maneuvering and adjusting to that high ground position, it almost costed them that positioning. So it's kind of like a high risk, high reward when you want to especially go independently like Watery did.
Yeah, this is definitely a position where here for the sprays doesn't want to get punished by being almost too creative, right? You had them go up on the high ground, take the elevator with Dog, and while that was a very flourishy play, it probably wasn't the best one where Dog was finding so much value from just almost standing and having a showdown in the middle of Hollywood, right? In the middle of the saloon, really where he gets to be head cowboy. So here for the sprays, when they're looking at approaching this next point here, with the positioning that Oblivion is taking on the high ground, here for the sprays, looking to use Bijou's wall, really confuse Oblivion on where they're going to go, and hopefully get underneath this bunker composition sitting on high ground so that they can mitigate as much damage as possible.
Slowly peeking the corner for here to maybe find out what type of position they want to take, blocked by the wall from Netty. They're actually going to drop down on the side of Oblivion. They want to regroup near this control point. They see that the wall is activated, going to drop now immediately, with a halt pulling multiple members of Oblivion out to the front. Here for the sprays, Immortality Field down to survive that aggression. The Accretion not going to land onto Renee like they would have hoped, but the freeze does. This consistent battle back and forth is poking. They have to get a good pick. Watery almost going down here for the spray. Falling back, waiting for another opportunity. Most likely going to wait for that Immortality Field again to look for an engage here, Necro.
Looking for that Immortality Field. They definitely want to drop when that is not online, but it is.
They can survive for here for the sprays. Fi going to take it out, but Pled gets a kill. Enough with the amplification matrix to shut it down. Numbers advantage here for the sprays. Oblivion, Fi in the back frozen, almost brought down, having to retreat. There's the follow-up. Watery going to get the kill. And the aggression ensues here for the sprays. Ultimate stacking up, this slow and steady pace, preventing Oblivion from getting onto the point. One after another pick. Watery, a lovely whip shot to take down that SFX player, and going to move into this payload phase with about the same time bank that we saw Oblivion.
Oblivion waited just a tad too long, and that Immortality Field came right back online when here for the sprays needed it. Now here for the sprays, winning that first engagement, they have so much momentum moving into this next point where they've got the Blizzard online. They have this rally and a way to really deal with Beppis' Blizzard. That's the only thing online right now.
Halt Flux onto 3. Immortality will not be able to help this team because they don't need to use it since there is so much damage after that Flux. Great collapse and just combination of the Halt Flux.
Flux, High Noon, the Blizzard, they did layer both of those DPS ultimates, but in this scenario, when here for the sprays is allowing Dog and Bijou to do so much damage on these heroes, they're getting them back really quickly. So we're going to see that High Noon come back online very soon here, especially with Dog taking that vantage point on the catwalk.
Dog already getting one onto Renee. The Supercharger committed as well, but does go down by Slay. Focusing that Coalescence's Amplification Matrix and Immortality Field are both dropped. The Blizzard has an opportunity. Beppis taken down. Freeze still activated, but no one there to get the follow-up damage onto the side of here for sprays.
Something that Oblivion has set themselves up well for is this final recontest on the second point. They didn't have to use too much here. They said, you know what, let's try investing the Coalescence. We'll try to invest the Blizzard. Didn't necessarily work out, but we have follow-up. We have answers for this last part of the point. They just have to get there.
FizzDog on the high ground, trying to get some shots. Immortality Field committed, but instantly taken down. Damage just accelerating forward, collapsing quickly. After that halt came out for the side of Hades, couldn't get any sort of picks with a great cleanup by Oblivion.
Really good cleanup there. They only had to use a supercharger as well. So this is a great position for Oblivion to be in, where they have another win condition online for the next team fight. And here for the Sprays, because of where that card stopped, is going to be walking so far, taking so much damage, while Oblivion just has to sit up top and hit shots as here for the Sprays moves in.
Rounding that outer position here for the Sprays, mitigating a lot of damage. The Saloon being the point of presence on the high ground by Oblivion, and they're doing a great job of managing it, looking to drop down. Early pick onto FizzDog. That's going to be extremely difficult to recover from as the halt pulls multiple members up. There's the double for the May player on Oblivion. Now, here for the Sprays in a difficult spot. Hades trying to at least turn it around with some damage, but this is going to be a reset here for the Sprays. Has to fall back.
This is so much cleaner from Oblivion, and they're exercising so much patience when it comes to whether or not to use those ultimates. Clearly, you can see the communication from Oblivion, whether or not they're going to use something, and they still have held on to the Death Blossom, the Gravitic Flux, and they also have another Blizzard coming online. So this is an excellent position for Oblivion to be in. They've really figured out how to use the architecture of Hollywood to their advantage.
It's absolutely critical, and they're doing it flawlessly. The Saloon being their point of just pivot around this corner. Once again, here comes the collapse going down with Renee. Flux going to be activated. Halt's going to pull them into it, but a high noon in the air, trying to get a return, can't seem to do so as Fi gets the kill mid-air before dropping down. Kinetic Grasp mitigating even further by Renee, but frozen in the Blizzard. Is there enough damage from here for the Spray? Pled doing a great job taking out Bepis with the amplification matrix as a Flux comes in return. Sound barrier by SFX, allowing an opportunity to survive through the landing, with Fi taking an opportunity to drop that Death Blossom, which was held for an entirety of that fight to be generated, with a minute now still to go for here for the Sprays.
You can see where this becomes a tactical advantage for Oblivion, though. Respawn's coming out faster is saying for here for the Sprays, we got to back up. We got to make sure we have our entire team moving into the last 45 seconds of this fight. This could potentially be the last fight here. If we see Oblivion land a huge supercharger, land tons amount of damage, this might be it for here for the Sprays.
Leading in with a rally, Watery trying to survive with that stun in the back as the Immortality Field right in the middle of that May wall, with the supercharger finally dissipating. Hades getting the pick. Amplification Matrix still in the center. Can't really get too much value out of it as they've tucked into the county jail, but because they're in this isolated place, so much extra damage onto Oblivion, and it forces them to reach a next checkpoint with Oblivion unable to contest it.
Oblivion did their job, though. What they really wanted to do was draw out that timer as much as possible, and now here for the Sprays only has a minute and a half to make it through the third and arguably hardest point of Hollywood. And they need to end... They need to finish. It doesn't matter if they have any time left in the bank. They'll still get a minute left, given that Oblivion finished with less than a minute left on their side of the attack. But here for the Sprays has to get this third point. Looking at these Blizzards right now, and looking particularly at how these Sigmas are going to respond.
Blizzard to respond against a flanking dive from Oblivion. SFX frozen. They have to get the pick onto SFX. Dosh with the double momentum here. Unbelievable job, a attempted survival use for Bijou, but coming out on top is Oblivion.
Oblivion was ready for that. They were tracking that Bijou had that Blizzard online. They were able to back up very effectively, and it allowed Bepis's Blizzard to get more value in that scenario. Now, as they continue to hold this point, here for the Sprays is going to have to use so many ultimates, invest a lot into this next fight to really break through this Death Blossom and this Gravitic Flux from Oblivion.
Hades rotating underneath the stick near at the wall. Going to come out with a supercharger. Death Blossom hoping to get some value by Fi. Accretion will early. Amplification Matrix, so much damage at the side of here for the Sprays. High Noon needing value. Almost going to get one, but doesn't seem to find the kill. Flux now onto the payload, trying to prevent it. If anyone, 4 here for the spray, can stick near that to contest it, but SFX is there to contest it, making sure that they cannot have it. Respawn advantage available. Sound barrier by SFX to buy some time. As the collapse comes in, the remaining members of Oblivion completely surrounding and engulfing here for the sprays, wanting to secure that they cannot stick onto this point, as Netty with the last-ditch effort on this ball, with Tracer coming in, hoping to keep it alive, as the overtime shreds away and manages to do so here, Necra.
This is going to be a map win here for Oblivion. We're tying it all up here in this losers finals. This is incredible.
1-1, the completion, the stall, unable to do anything more. What a so far first to 3 best of 5 that we've got underway.
Oh yeah, I mean, I could definitely see this going to a map 5, but I have a feeling that Oblivion, after playing against this composition here for the sprays, has really brought to the table. They've started to figure it out. You can already see the micro adjustments Oblivion made in order to really mitigate the advantages here for the sprays made with just the surprise factor. So already seeing better target priority here from Oblivion, really seeing them stick more together as a unit, and that works wonders, particularly when you have a May as strong as Beppis on your team, and that Sigma as well, that have such good reaction times.
And that adaptation is going to be critical. Before we move into our next map, we're going to go to a break here to see if Oblivion is going to be able to keep this momentum moving forward, to take it away from here for the sprays, or here for the sprays is going to now adjust a little bit to make it their own. We'll be back in just a moment, friends. Hello, and welcome back, friends. I'm Rich Red, here with Necra, as we're going to be hopping into Volskaya Industries between these two teams, where it's a 1-1 score. And going in, like I said, to Volskaya with the attacking side here for the sprays, defense of Oblivion.
We did have that side swap, and I wonder if this is really just how these two teams like to differentiate their play styles a little bit. We did see Oblivion take that last map, which means that this is here for the sprays choice going to Volskaya Industries. But the fact that Oblivion now has chosen the defense, and the fact that they had such a strong defense on Hollywood, it makes me really believe that Oblivion is just a defensively oriented team. And here for the sprays seems to be a more offensively oriented team.
I agree, specifically because with how Beppis plays the May. It's just the usage of the walls. It seems that it's very coordinated when it comes to that defensive side, and it allows Phi to get those potential repositions and advancements on the side of here for the sprays.
Yeah, this is definitely a good position, I think, for Oblivion to deal with, and it really allows them to kind of set the tone for this next match. If they are a defensively oriented team, like what I think they are from watching their gameplay, not once, but twice now in this EU Open Division season, I think that this is just a way for Oblivion to really put a goalpost down and really say, here for the sprays, this is what you've got to beat. Right.
Hades looking to push in with that halt, can't get value. A nice halt and separation here with the wall on the front side by Beppis. Again, that defensive wall play has been on point. The collapse coming in by Oblivion, exploiting this corner rapidly, but Dog on the Reaper trying to give some opportunity for the plays against Phi. Just battling it out in this corner. Renee, Coalescence coming out for the sprays. Keeping aggression moving forward around the corner as Oblivion has to digress back onto this point, not wanting to get overrun or finding a flank by Dog.
This is a dangerous position here for the sprays to be in, though, because they invested the Coalescence, and now they're going to be walking into another straightaway where Oblivion has a chance to fire back their own. And as we've seen so far from how SFX has been playing this Lucio, it's been so easy for them to micro position and really speed their way around to get full value from these Coalescences coming in.
Here for the spray, mitigating a lot of damage, but the wall once again separating part of the team, slowing their movement and rotation around this high ground as Oblivion keeps their own high ground. Whose halt is really going to be critical here?
Yes, I think this is really going to be critical for Doge to have the right halt trying to push them off of high ground, but you can say the same thing for here for the sprays.
Coalescence leading in for Oblivion, trying to get any sort of advantage they can with Beppis holding onto that Blizzard, most likely to use it just behind this wall once it ends, unless they get enough early damage, which they will, preventing that ultimate from being used, and just complete dominance in the back position. Oblivion really demonstrating their dominance after you said understanding the composition that Here for the Sprays has.
You could really see it in their eyes though, but also note that Here for the Sprays isn't running the same composition that we've seen them run before. Watery's on the Lucio, Pledplers is on the Moira. This really is a true mirror match between these two teams, and this is clearly something Oblivion understands so well to a T that they are taking advantage of every second that Here for the Sprays stays on this comp.
Flux to the side, leaving every member barriered by Watery to survive that drop. Transitioning around the corner where Oblivion still holds a great vantage point, but you see Here for the Storm, or Here for the Sprays, on the high ground now trying to contest. Nice Maywall to get Oblivion back up top into a Flux, rising multiple members. Dog getting a kill early on to Slay, with Netty following up as well. Coalescence going to be activated to force the remaining members off of this point as the accretion is consistently being land by Netty, start to finish, keeping this point, a minute remaining, and they're going to carry over a decent amount to try and attempt the second point.
Netty is nutty. I said it once, I'll say it again. Netty is nutty. Here for the Sprays. That Sigma has been so impactful in these fights because of the reaction time coming out from that player specifically. Like, you could just see how soaking up that damage at the right moment against Oblivion really allowed Here for the Sprays to take the advantage in that fight, and now they have the potential to snowball this all the way through second point.
Beppis with the wall again, constantly dividing this team, but now Fi in the back looking for an opportunity to drop down for the Death Blossom, pulling them together. There's one. The Blizzard going to make sure they can isolate every member of Here for the Spray in the corner. No need for the Death Blossom. Just shelling damage in the back line. Oblivion halting this aggression.
Oblivion did such a good job of stopping the snowball, but Here for the Sprays also didn't invest everything I think they could have in order to take it over. They recognize, hey, we lost somebody. I think we should just back up a little bit and make sure that we can come in and really do this right. So Here for the Sprays walking in now with the Blizzard, where Beppis doesn't have theirs online, but XFX still has an answer with that sound barrier. So I really want to see Here for the Sprays maybe force some of those out before coming in again and using their own ults.
Wall dividing away some attention. Hall's going to be pulled right to the center into the Blizzard, but the movement speed by SFX allowing the entire team of Oblivion to stagger out of the way. Supercharger Death Blossom in return from Dog getting two, as Fi still manages to get a lot of damage regardless of the Death Blossom yielding more. Here for the Sprays, trying to move on to this point to contest numbers advantage to push this team of Oblivion back, but Dosh going onto the Winston, trying to get to this point to contest it and buy some time since both Fi and SFX are holding strong. But Netty saying, I cannot allow you to stay on this point. We want to take it. Ooh, nice comeback though here with Oblivion.
That's so tough of a position for Here for the Sprays to be in, because they played that the way they should have, waiting for Oblivion to use their ultimates, firing back with their own, but unfortunately they just weren't taking out members of Oblivion fast enough. They were able to come back to point, have their reinforcements ready to go, and it just overwhelmed Here for the Sprays. Now, Here for the Sprays is kind of, again, needing to use a couple of these minutes to get ultimates back online, really have to force out those ultimates from Oblivion's toolkit for this next fight.
Maywall on the high ground, diverting attention, no sightlines. Netty waiting for the Gravitic Flux to be used, but does go down. Fi getting the advantage. Beppis clearing up with Fi on this front position. No member able to survive for Hats as they have to force a retreat.
They do force the retreat, but again, this is where Here for the Sprays really wanted. The Gravitic Flux is gone. Doge not really close enough to that supercharger yet. Yes, Oblivion still has some tools to use, but I feel as though Here for the Sprays really understands this kind of May v May matchup, and that's really what it comes down to in these next couple of seconds. Really, this last minute of their attack is who's going to pop that mail, when, and how. How is the big factor here.
45, nice wall again to separate the team. Coalescence, extra damage. The supercharger not ready though for the side of Oblivion. Renee getting a lot of damage onto Bijou, taking him down. Nettie going down as well, can't survive through it. A reset here, ex-Oblivion taking over Hats here for the sprays, and they are not able to stick into that fight now with 25 seconds to go.
And still, extreme patience executed by ex-Oblivion. They have the May ult still. They still have the sound barrier. And the sound barrier really is such a key point, especially when you're going into last fight territory, because you need that extra sustain, particularly when, on the defense, the respawns are that much closer. So, gonna try to turn them around.
Blizzard starting with Oblivion. The sound barrier to give some assistance. Both teams echoing those ultimates as overtime looks to be not able to touch it! Keeping the team of Hats away from this point and allowing a great hold for ex-Oblivion.
There was so much crowd control there, but this is really where ex-Oblivion stuck the goalpost. The goalpost is now going to be that one sliver of percent on the second point, but it's not an easy task still. Here for the Sprays has shown how well they can adapt in this situation where the meta is that double shield, that double damage, whether it's going to be the Reaper, the May, the Doomfist, any combination of those. And I feel as though ex-Oblivion still has their work cut out for them, even though they set that bar that they did for that second point of Volskaya.
Whew, I gotta say, I love seeing when you have a hold on that second point. Because again, we from a long time ago when we had that adjustment in the patch note where it allowed the defensive team to have a quicker respawn and the reduction of the minute, those types of things are really critical because you're now having more ample time for the defensive position to really prevent that attacking team from getting to it, and it really causes strain on the attacker side. That extra minute is critical that they've lost over so many months ago.
I think it's a good feeling, though, for at least ex-Oblivion, where they had a couple of big staggers. Here for the Sprays made sure that they bought themselves as much time as possible for the defense to get reset up. And in that moment, I think here for the Sprays found a way to try to take advantage of that. They just didn't use all of the ultimates they could have to really snowball the point. So ex-Oblivion, probably pretty happy about that, but their turn to attack. How are they going to approach this? They see that here for the Sprays is set up on the high ground now. Experimental barrier already out, but Dog with a quick pick.
Hat's doing a great job. Dog for Hat's doing so amazing, keeping that up with that sightline. Ex-Oblivion needing to play very close to the wall, which they're doing. That May wall going to allow them to just have some more survivability. The immortality field dropped for Hats to regroup back to the point to make sure they keep advantage here. The full 6 coming by Oblivion and has the high ground now, Necro.
They have the high ground, and this is where here for the Sprays needs to take back that tactical advantage. You can see Pledplers waiting on the upper vantage point here. Has a really good sightline onto the team, is getting so much healing done, but they can't really find a vantage point to get damage done onto ex-Oblivion.
Now dropping with the Coalescence from Slay, giving so much advantage. The immortality field going to go down since they're hyper-focusing it for the side of Oblivion. 2 minutes and 50 seconds, a lot to work with the amplification matrix now going to be dropped from Pled on here for the Spray. Aggressing, keeping now ex-Oblivion just behind these canisters. Halt going to pull multiple members forward from ex-Oblivion to try and capitalize onto it with Dosh barely surviving the Fortify, giving an opportunity, but they're at half health, nearing their death. These supports giving so much to the team. It's drawn out so extensively here as Watery will commit the rally.
Committing the rally. Hopefully here for the Sprays isn't too distracted by that rallying call, because ex-Oblivion trying to sneak a bit of the point there. But here for the Sprays, this is exactly what I was talking about, Rich. Look at how well they're running this composition. Watery's back on the Brigida, Pledplers on this Baptiste. Yes, ex-Oblivion had an incredible hold on that second point, but can they even get through the first one? Here for the Sprays is making it so difficult for them to touch this point.
This minute and 55 seconds is just growing shorter and shorter. Renee having the flux going into this for Oblivion. Lots of damage funneled to that barrier on the high ground as here for the sprays. Digresses back. Dog getting a protective shield, though. Defensively, as the high noon comes out, can they get multiple kills? The kinetic grasp actually mitigating it, and we'll see the blizzard eaten from Renee. Pushing onto the point, Coalescence to lead for Oblivion with Slay. Cannot survive through the amount of damage that here for the spray is expending onto them and resetting again.
That was a great eat by Oblivion, but just unfortunately not enough. Bijou able to use the blizzard almost as a distraction tool there to really allow Nettie and Dog to pop off. Here for the sprays has a minute left that they need to defend this point, and this window is an opportunity for them.
That 3-window pane on the high ground from here for the sprays. 2 barriers and amplification matrix deleting anything that comes through that doorway. But now that the amplification matrix is gone, it is a good opportunity for Oblivion to push back in.
It absolutely is. Look at what they have to come back with. Sure, there's only 40 seconds left in the clock when Oblivion's going to meet here for this brace on the point, but they've got 4, potentially 5 ultimates to do it with.
Halt on the side. They almost got here for the sprays. Bijou barely surviving. Fi taking down the supercharger as the blizzard is unleashed. Can Oblivion follow up on this as the immortality field is there? It won't matter, though. The damage is so high. 18 seconds remaining, finally persevering through the defensive positioning of here for the sprays, as now Oblivion can transition to point B.
Renee's going to have another huge eat here as Oblivion moves towards that second point, because she's ready to stop this Oblivion team in their tracks. They've got the blizzard. Oblivion's going to have a hard time snowballing this one, walking into that massive freeze trap.
2 minutes and 50 seconds, like you said, working with a decent amount of time, but it's only 1 tick. All they need, 33%. Fi having the Death Blossom. Halt gonna pull the entire team down again on Oblivion. Great job by Hades with Blizzard committed. Watery waiting to use the rally. Not going to drop it just yet since they have the numbers advantage early against Oblivion and will keep this defensive ult economy alive for the next engage.
Blizzard. Win team fight. GG. Like,
Dunzo.
Unfortunately, that's kind of how it goes. And this is really where Here for the Sprays takes back the momentum from Oblivion, where they have the high ground advantage. Look at all the damage that they can pump out as Oblivion just walks in. Oh, another window. They've got all their eyes on the prize right now for Here for the Sprays.
Positional advantage gonna be actually Oblivion there when that ult came out. Played the wall and the corner so that they didn't have any sight lines against them. Well, now as there's a minute and 50 seconds to go around the outside, Oblivion trying to get the advantage for Fi to maybe get a Death Blossom dumping in the back. Can they get a chance to follow up as the Gravitic Flux comes out by Nettie? A wall separating Fi, no advantage. The DPS away from the fight entirely with Here for the Sprays claiming this defensive hold.
It wasn't just the DPS that Here for the Sprays segmented away from the team. They actually were able to segment away Slay, the Moira, the main healer for Oblivion that is responsible for the majority of the support for the team. Now Slay is further away from that coalescence, really wants to have it just to move in right now, but has got to wait to build that up. Here for the Sprays still has so much agency within this fight.
Supercharger and Rally to lead in for Here for the Sprays, as Oblivion is actually just going to bail out of this. They don't want to go against these ultimates, and they're going to reset here.
They are going to reset. I mean, they just got to wait these out. This was a great move by Oblivion, backing off, and now they can come in with their own ultimates.
Leading with the Coalescence, almost having the Supercharger, will drop it once it's active as Fi waits for the Death Blossom opportunity. Going backwards with the team to try and get through that. Immortality field does get one, wants a second, the third, the quad! Fi's gonna find it! Holding just long enough with a lovely taunt in the crossing of hands as Oblivion takes this map of Volskaya Industries.
Got that team kill belt to reward them too. So I think Oblivion's feeling really good about that one, and they've had to play that so slow, which seems very counterintuitive to Oblivion's playstyle.
Yes.
But look at how well they were rewarded for it by waiting out those ultimates from Here for the Sprays. They waited out the Supercharger, and then they came back in and blew everything in their arsenal. This was such a beautiful Death Blossom, and I think Oblivion should be proud of themselves for that execution.
It really is that patience. Fi just sticking in the back, waiting and waiting for it. The immortality field coming out so that the rest of the team can hyper-focus it quick enough. There was a slight bit of damage mitigation with it as the Death Blossom occurred, but because of that Mei wall lifting it up into the air trying to prevent it, it gave a lot more aerial positioning for the Death Blossom and just dominated on that push. It was stellar work by Oblivion.
You know, I gotta give a shout out though. I've been having a hard time not chuckling at this. I think people noticed it when Here for the Sprays won that first map. I've been dying to call Here for the Sprays hats this entire time.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I've been looking at it myself, and I've been throwing it in like, I want to see it. I want to see it.
So badly.
and if anything, we'll probably allude to that because you're all getting to see it, especially with that victory control to know that Here for the Spray is known as hats. I mean, let's be real. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I love wearing hats, especially in the winter here in Illinois where there's going to be lots of snow. For whoever's in the snow, you're going to be wearing hats soon, too.
It's so snow. It's already so cold. I hate it. I hate it so much, Rich. That's why I'm glad we're going to Havana right now, where it is beautiful, it is sunny, and you don't have to worry about wearing a hat.
No, but for the side of hats, they will be on the attacking side with Oblivion on the defensive. And we actually saw some interesting gameplay on this map with a lot of Pharah recently, but I know we're probably not going to see it. So playing this position, a lot of the time when it comes to the attacking side, you see them want to play a lot, or correction, on the defensive side, they play a lot further forward near where that Havana gas station is.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you're running something like a Bastion bunker, which I could totally see Here for the Sprays try to run, just because they have such a beautiful Baptiste player and Bled players that really understands how to use those cooldowns effectively, as well as rotate through healing and doing damage. But we won't talk about them quite yet since they're on the attack. We'll go ahead and go talk a little bit about Oblivion coming out of spawn right now with really their tried and true. Bepis sticking to that Mei, and I think this bodes really well for a close defense here from Oblivion. You can already see them kind of like smelling it out, right? They want it. They really want to set that goalpost again.
And if Oblivion can get this early pick and that ultimate economy advantage, a team can really gridlock a team like Hats in this position.
They really can. Maywall?
Maybe gonna stop it.
Effective.
No, not really, but they will get a collapse here. Oblivion turning around the corner. The immortality field is there up front. A force out of a compositional change. Fees will rotate back to the McCree, and this is that ultimate advantage we're going to see. It may not be much, but already having at least 30% for Doge to the supercharger is critical.
It really is, because Doge wants to get that supercharger online, and at the moment, because of this close hold, Doge really has a lot of the agency of the team.
While separating the backside of Hats with the immortality field coming out once again, just has to survive this initial engage with Fi forcing a retreat. Can't seem to stick into the open because Bijou does have that great freeze and crown control. Sai gonna get rid of it though immediately. Still sticking near this gas station with so much aggression as the amplification matrix now comes out. Hats trying to play it safe, but also managing to get some damage through that amplification matrix with Slay dropping the coalescence. This consistent fight is just really running the clock right now.
Really running the clock. Good deletion of that immortality field, and Oblivion lighting up the kill feed now with that blue. It's only a matter of time though before Here for the Sprays is able to take advantage of the numbers that they have been able to fell on the side of Oblivion and come back with those reinforcements of their own.
Now with Fi looking to fall back for Oblivion, Blizzard going to be unleashed, getting Hades in the middle of it. Is anyone able to take him down? Will finally go, but the Fees dog, lovely Dead Blossom and quad kill, resetting all of Oblivion. And Here for the Sprays finally gets some payload movement.
Oh, the Fees dog. Fees dog doesn't want Fi to take all the credit for being a good Reaper. Fees dog wants to show us a little bit that they are a force to be reckoned with, and that they did. Now, Here for the Sprays finally breaking through that bunker composition from Oblivion, and they're getting this cart rolling here with a supercharger.
Halt into the flux, getting to both tanks. Fortify right at the end of it, so to prevent the damage. A lot of survivability Here for the Sprays is utilizing it. Blizzard now very aggressive, far forward, trying to get Slay on Oblivion. Can't seem to pull him into the center of it. Last chance for Oblivion to regroup and contest this payload before reaching the next checkpoint.
That's why we see teams take that close hold to the spawn, because now Oblivion has bought themselves an additional attempt, and this is going to be great for them. Look at how many ultimates they're coming back in with, and what they really only have to worry about is Netty's gravitic flux. I think they've got an answer to that. That's going to be that sound barrier. This should be really clean from Oblivion.
Immortality field dropped right away. Slay taking down Pled, though, regardless of that Immortality field just outside of the circle. Hades getting some great turnaround, though, after taking down the Supercharger. SFX no longer having that sound barrier for Oblivion to survive. Just under 5 meters as the Death Blossom comes out by Phi. Can the value be taken? Slay taking it right away as a 5-killer streak for Phi continues to grow, with Renee resetting. 5 meters left and 46 seconds.
All right, Phi got robbed by those last hits, okay? Like, Mara's busted. Phi should have had those easy-handed. But Oblivion, able to win that team fight, wins back their advantage in this game. 30 seconds left on the clock. Here for the Sprays is on their last legs to get this first point of Havana.
Bapis with the bear, it's actually going to be Rally activated first. Thought the Blizzard might come out. It's now the high ground advantage by Dog with the Death Blossom, looking for an opportunity to drop it as the wall gives them a detour to work around. Dog still playing patiently, looking for that Death Blossom. Now onto the payload in the center, does get SFX and Phi. No damage available except for Bepis with the Blizzard trying to get enough of the back line of here for the spray. Overrun by the front line, though. Oblivion cannot keep that defensive hold and position as the checkpoint will be reached.
There we go here for the Sprays, and now they've turned the tide of this game. Here's their game plan moving forward. Use this Blizzard, win this next team fight, and then use the Amplification Matrix plus the Supercharger and just outburst them with damage. SFX isn't close to that sound barrier yet. They could really use that rotation of ultimates in any order and secure these next two team fights. Here for the Sprays, it's all for you right now.
Oblivion still managing this high ground very well. Great halt with Dog getting the follow-up onto Bepis, bailing out right now. Oblivion can't stay that far forward.
They really can't, because they don't want to be on the receiving end of any of that Supercharger damage. It's still sitting on cart, and we're gonna see Watery do a lot of the work here for the Sprays, but so far forward, getting caught in the gravitic.
SFX almost being brought down in the back line by Watery. That support 1v1 with Blizzard going to be activated in the corner. Slay having to fade out of it barely in time with Bepis. May getting stunned on the front side. That Watery crowd control is intense as the Flux lifts multiple members from Oblivion, but huge sound barrier coming out from SFX leading into it. Slay having still a few seconds on the Coalescence to try and get some extra damage onto Hades, which will finally go down. Dog as well. And they, on the side of Oblivion, will be able to stop this momentum.
Phi did a good job of distracting here for the Sprays, so that when Bijou hit the Blizzard, there was no follow-up that could really come from that. Bijou had to put a wall up in order to save the team from all the incoming damage on both sides. That pincer attack that Phi really enabled for Oblivion worked to great fruition here, and now we might see another 5K Death Blossom. Phi's ready to go, and here for the Sprays, really only has the Brigida Rally to deal with it.
A slow but steady movement on this catwalk here for the Sprays. A halt actually going to pull them to the low ground. Nice job of Oblivion getting that chance as Dose drops the Supercharger. Phi now looking for the Death Blossom, trying to play near that inner wall as the Immortality field disappears. Gets a pick onto Netty, consistently sticking close. Booped back with the whip shot. Can't survive it. 17 seconds to go and wants to clean up on the high ground.
Clean up on the high ground, that's for sure. Pledpler's actually getting a huge stagger here. This is going to be massive. Here for the Sprays isn't going to have that huge amount of healing moving into this next fight unless Watery decides to switch around, which Watery really needs to get to this point now. Dog, though, able to proc that overtime.
Wraith form being so critical as the Death Blossom wants to force any member off the point for Oblivion. Slay gonna commit along with every ultimate to follow from Oblivion. Dog with the Death Blossom to gain one. That's gonna be the primary focus if there's enough damage to come out, but SFX looks to shut it down. But Bijou on the Doomfist trying to turn this back here for the Spray. Keeping this payload activated. Can anybody stop Bijou going for SFX? One in the kill in the back line, but the movement is still too much for that Doomfist play on Bijou to follow up. SFX does get the counter play, taking him down, but still on the side of here for the Sprays will clean him off this point.
Oblivion has a chance to come back. Here for the Sprays made such a smart decision to switch Bijou over to the Doomfist because you could see how much value that really gets by having that one-shot kill potential. But Oblivion, those supports bought so much time. This is going to be a full contest here coming in from Oblivion.
Renee rotating back to the wrecking ball, does go down early. Nettie with the flux, still keeping an eye on Bijou with that Doomfist collapsing onto Slay, who does have still some survivability with the Coalescence. Can't seem to get the pick, so hyper-focus is now onto Spy in the back. Will this play by Bijou be enough to reach the next checkpoint? Under 3 meters, Wrecking Ball still playing the spin to win in the center. Great pile drive on the front with Beesdog getting some room, and they are just at a meter, needing to get them off the point, and will reach it with 1:23 to work with.
Oh my gosh. Here for the Sprays, it's just time and time again showing us why they're not ready to be out of this fight yet. This is match point, Rich. If Oblivion wins this map, that's it for Here for the Sprays run in EU Open Division, and I can feel it. I can feel the tension. I can feel how much Here for the Sprays wants this, despite what their namesake suggests. And Bijou switching over to this Doomfist was such a smart choice for them.
Supercharger leading in for Oblivion. Sound barrier to reply with Watery. In this very just unbelievably close encounter, still going in favor of Here for the Spray. This Bijou play on Doomfist is something we've not seen, and it is yielding so much value in conjunction with Feasdog.
It's so much value. I can't stress it enough, and I feel like we've almost like hit that with a stick a few too many times here. But Here for the Sprays, now moving into this last bit of the third point. They need this meteor strike to hit a key target at Oblivion, and my eyes right now are really going to be on Slay taking out that Mason Board.
Beppis with the wall. Blizzard most likely going to be dropped immediately after that. Immortality field does go down on the side of Oblivion. They need to secure it, finally dropping it as the High Noon comes out. No one going to be in the sightlines, though, because the freeze will connect on to the McCree player. Just a few seconds remaining as the last-ditch effort through this archway does not work for Here for the Sprays, with round 1 being completed before completion.
The Baptiste choice is so good for Here for the Sprays because of the Immortality field, but this is where Oblivion got smart. There's nothing to save you if you take out that Immortality field.
It's true, and that's what that slow play was. Beppis waiting for that opportune time to secure, especially because the High Noon was coming out.
Yes.
That was perfectly and just amazing patience to make sure that they can secure that, lock that down. No opportunity in that choke point for that one-shot, one-kill. Moving now with a switch with Here for the Spray on the defense. And we, like you said, could see a Bastion, but we're not sure. We're going to find out shortly, friends.
I only like Bastion because it's such an interesting hero. Like, okay, it's maybe not that interesting to play, but just some of the tech that you can do with the Bastion. Like, what was it during the grand finals, the Overwatch League grand finals? We saw a Bastion tech their way up onto the chandelier inside the third point of Eichenwald. Like, what was that? So there's so much that has yet to be explored, I feel like, by that hero, but no Bastion right now. Going to see the tried and true for Here for the Sprays. This has worked so well when they've decided to run this composition from the beginning against Oblivion. It makes so much sense why Here for the Sprays would want to stick to what they know.
Aggressive play Here for the Sprays, not as aggressive with that inner positioning, but because we've talked about it before, you made a great valuable point to know that it gives them the opportunity of having multiple attempts to hold this payload. But Here for the Sprays is looking to wear off a lot of time, just as Oblivion did.
Yeah, this hold isn't quite as close, and this leaves Here for the Sprays just a little bit vulnerable. They look like the rotation, they can't go backwards.
They are stuck in a rock and a hard place, both being ice, as Oblivion gets the aggression first, the wall to sever the team at first, and then Oblivion using their own wall to lock in that damage dealer to make sure that Here for the Sprays cannot do anything about it. And here's a quick reset with 3:30 still to go for this push.
Here for the Sprays really needed to win that first team fight too. Now they're going to be behind in the ultimate economy. Slay already close to that coalescence, as you would expect from a Moira at this level. But Feasdog makes a bit of an adjustment. The Kree not really going to find as much value as these May walls, just block off everything. So going to switch over to the Reaper and see if they can help do some one-shot damage.
Bijou with a nice wall to try and block a few members. Coalescence activated from Slay, healing a lot through that incoming damage up the stairway. The freeze onto Renee, but will not get the kill as Fi still finds so much value onto FeesDog out in the open, going head-to-head with 2 minutes and 50 seconds, playing up that stairwell for Oblivion, really managing this corner well, and shutting down the last few members to reach this checkpoint.
Nettie had to reset themselves there too, which is something you don't get a chance to see every day, a Sigma taking themselves out of the fight. But this is going to be a quick push here for Oblivion. Have a lot more time to get through the second point than what here for the Sprays did. 5 minutes, Rich, and all the momentum in the world. They have almost a full slate of ultimates coming online here. They've got the pick of the litter of what they want to use for these next few fights.
Split high ground positioning for here at the Spray. Now moving forward with the Gravitic Flux, getting a decent amount of damage onto the backline. They're not going to commit the sound barrier just yet, which they will now as Beppis holds onto the Blizzard, dropping it in the back with that Cryo Freeze activated so nobody can hyper-focus the May, getting some extra follow-up as Nettie and Watery are both frozen in the back, but the wall actually going to prevent some incoming damage, but too much has already been done on the front side by Oblivion, clearing out those frontline tanks, with here for the Spray having to try and do what they can to survive, but Nettie actually still working well with FeesDog to switch it back and make Oblivion have to retreat and force Slay to Coalescence.
Oh, here's first has to be so careful though, because it's been so difficult for Pledge players to really utilize their kit to its fullest potential, and Oblivion has respawns coming back.
Amplification Matrix on the high ground to use for that support play does go down, can't seem to maintain the positioning. And I have to say, here for the Sprays, really just running the clock on the side of Oblivion.
Really running the clock there. This is what here for the Sprays kind of wants to do. Understanding if they're tracking the ultimates from Oblivion, that Oblivion really has a lot of answers to what here for the Sprays is dishing out. And because Oblivion's really been setting the pace of these fights by popping those ultimates first, here for the Sprays knows that they're going to have a long fight ahead of them. And they need to draw some time off this clock.
Rally to enter with a lot of armor as the supercharger will be there to boost, but the wall separating that support play, needing to be very careful. An early pick though onto SFX, which is critical, dropping down from the high ground 4 here for the Spray, but Blizzard going to counteract that, moving out of the way. FeesDog out of the circle, but will be immediately brought down by Beppis. 3 minutes and just cleaning it up.
Oh, Beppis. This is, again, May doing May things in some ways for Oblivion, but this is the only ultimate they had to use to secure the second point. For the Sprays, has so much distance they'd have to travel in order to get back that this second point, it's just free. And now that this wall has gone down here for the Sprays, Oblivion is just right there, ready on the attack.
Can Oblivion manage to turn this back with that nice Coalescence coming out? Flux in return, SFX using the sound barrier, so many commitments to it. FeesDog unleashing the Death Blossom, but cannot seem to get any value. Pled also falling short as this fight comes to an end, with Oblivion still coming out on top.
Oblivion is just rolling this cart to the finish line, and here for the Sprays, they're a little desperate. They need to figure out a way to deal with Oblivion making the adjustments necessary to deal with here for the Sprays composition. And if they can't figure that out now, they can't figure it out this last fight, that's match point, Rich. That's going to be it.
Last opportunity, as you said. There's that golden box of victory as Dosh on the front prevents any sort of incoming damage. Nice wall separation dropping down. This could be a good reset here for the Sprays. If Dosh can get back with the team, they're back to a 6, turning on this higher position. 3 minutes approaching it, just a few meters left. The side of here for the Sprays has to engage. Blizzard going to come out to try and isolate the members in the back away. Last chance for anybody on the side of here for the Sprays to get on the point. Bijou won't gain the value. Nettie, frozen, surviving with the Immortality Field as FSX gets the boop onto the Death Blossom. No, gonna happen. Fi managing to clear it off, and that's going to be it. Oblivion with the aggression towards the end and outplaying here for the Sprays, pushing them into the grand finals.
Oh my gosh, that's gonna be one heck of a grand finals, and 5 rewarded with another incredible play here. This wasn't even I feel like even the best Death Blossom, but this is where I feel like he got robbed. Remember,
Yes.
Moira's busted,
Yes.
ladies and gentlemen.
Yes,
So-
yes indeed. Definitely robbed, but you now see the redemption coming through the losers bracket. Oblivion working hard to get them to that glorified grand finals to compete and maybe claim the overall open division EU practice season 2019. I gotta say, this has been an exciting day for Overwatch. There is still the last and final moments to be captured, so don't go anywhere, friends. I have been Rich Rad, your caster, with my lovely co-caster, Necra. Necra, it is fantastic, as always, to be casting with you, and I hope that all of you have a lovely rest of this time watching, as I know we'll be tuning in just like you, friends.